We're your hosts,
Aaron Bacus
and Jason Kindler.
We like to sit down with our guests to hear their journey, their challenges, and how they impact the local community.
So grab a seat, tune in, and let's get inspired by Jacksonville's everyday workforce.
Welcome to Hometown Jax. Deana Smith, it's great to have you.
Yes.
Aaron Bacus, I'm so happy you're on the podcast.
Thank you.
You brought your notes, man. This is going to be serious today, right?
I brought some notes. I
Oh,
did.
I tell you.
I'm new to Jacksonville, so I needed some notes.
Well, your credentials are amazing. I was spending some time on your website. I'm so interested to get into this because I know a lot of people out there are going to be interested. I know a lot of parents are going to be interested. Yeah. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
You are the executive director and operating partner of LearningRx
in Jacksonville Beach.
Jacksonville Beach. That's awesome. So they're a franchise. Is that
they
what they are?
They are a franchise.
Awesome.
Yes. And there was a LearningRx in Jacksonville, not in Jacksonville Beach.
Okay.
I don't know exactly when, but over probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
And my sister and my brother-in-law, they're my business partners.
Okay.
And so this is a family
business. I like that.
Faith-based business.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. So board certified cognitive specialist. I had to read that.
Yes.
That sounds very smart. Are you very smart?
I would like to say that my EQ is very high.
Yes.
My emotional intelligence is a joke. I am smart, but I'm not someone that has spent 10 years in college.
Well, how do you go about getting that degree? That's a graduate after 4 years?
That is, yes.
Okay.
That's more of like a certification.
Okay.
You just have to, take classes and get certified in a specific area, which is the cognitive.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school in South Florida.
Okay.
Broward College and Nova Southeastern University, and my background is education.
Okay.
So
were you a teacher at one point?
I was a teacher, yes.
Okay.
And then I got into grant writing. I've always worked with children in some type of shape or form. That's always been my passion, is working in a serving model and caring for, helping. Psychology was something that I studied a little bit, but I didn't go that direction.
So cognitive specialists in psychology, different, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's different. You're working with the the neuroplasticity of the brain both ways, but psychology is more of, I like to call us a root cause or bottom up approach, if you will, because what a psychologist is doing more or less is giving you coping mechanisms, right?
That's what I was going to say. You're more prevention. Let's do this. Not for prevention, but like before the issue, and then psychologist is after the issue.
Right, or it can go hand in hand. A lot of our students are seeing, in tandem, a psychologist or another therapist, or like you said, after. Those coping skills can be very helpful in talking things through, getting out trauma, all that kind of stuff.
For sure.
But we're looking at really 7 essential cognitive skills that we all need to have our brain working, in sync.
Well, let's get into those. I want to talk about you a little bit.
Talk about me.
Where'd you grow up? Miami area, did you say?
Yeah. Well, I'm from Coral Springs.
Okay.
I grew up in Coral Springs. I was born in New York, and I just moved from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
So I've been around. I have lived in Colorado, and I would say the majority Coral Springs.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. And I saw you had 3 kids. How old are they?
I have 3 kids. I have 2 adult sons. Okay. One's 26. The other one is 24. Okay. And I have a daughter who is in 9th grade.
Excellent.
Yes.
Awesome. I have 3 kids myself. 2 are adults and one's still in high school. So
you get that.
I identify.
Yes.
Lots of different ranges there for figuring things out.
Yes, absolutely. It is. And she's you have boys, girls?
2 boys and 1 girl.
Oh, same thing. Okay. Yes. I always wanted a daughter. I had 2 boys, and then I got my daughter.
There you go.
Yes. Worked in the public school system. Then I started doing before and after school grant programs.
Yep.
grant writing,
Okay.
summer camp programs in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And that was amazing. That was about 12 years of my life. In Georgia, I came into functional neurology,
Okay.
which a doctor friend of mine was a functional neurologist.
And what is a functional neurologist? What does that do?
A functional neurologist is basically usually a chiropractor. That's usually their background, but a clinician that is working with alternative ways and treatments and therapies with the brain, right? So they're working with that neuroplasticity. I'll probably say that a million times, but it's just so important, and it's something not everybody understands.
And what is that? What is that?
The neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to change.
Interesting.
At any age.
Change meaning learn, or like completely change your behaviors?
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
wow.
Absolutely. We have, the brain is almost like putty. You can form neural pathways, right? We have these neural pathways that are going back and forth, talking to each other constantly, right? And sometimes you have a real strong connection, like a Wi-Fi connection. That would be like a 5G brain.
Good example.
Right. And then other times you can have these like amazing strengths and other weaknesses in certain parts of your brain. And then you could have signals that are just being missed. And certain areas could just not be performing at your full potential.
Right.
And there are ways to organically improve that.
Interesting.
Yes. So it's an
Well, don't they
alternate
always
approach.
say like you're only using like 20% of your brain power? Is that literally true, or whatever that number?
Yeah. The brain is so, we don't do any preventative measures for the brain. I think I went to a convention a couple of years back, and they were saying that we're about 40 years behind in brain health. 40 years.
In brain health, meaning like what would be
Like
what would
we
be
are
example
in the
of brain
19
health?
Sure. So we're like in where heart health was in the 1950s for the brain. So
Interesting.
people do not go seek help. We don't do any preventative measures. We just, you have memory loss, you have a headache. We do it when we have the physical symptoms. We don't really foster development of the brain.
Like kind of working out your brain.
Yes, exactly. So doing that will give you, your IQ can be super high, but our other areas of your brain, you can have a child who is A's in everything, but in one area they're failing, or, they can't pay attention, or can't sit still. There's so many things, and a lot of it just as a parent, and you probably know this, it doesn't always make sense.
Right.
And I think you were asking me about how I got into this. That was really where my passion started, was from my own children.
Right.
My oldest struggled with ADHD, inattentive. He had some social anxiety. And I was really, really passionate about understanding, because it didn't make sense to me. And you're pushed with medication and IEPs, and there's all these things, but nothing really, it's like you're told this is it. Your child, it doesn't define at all. None of these diagnoses.
It's not really, doesn't seem like it's really hitting the root cause of what the problem is.
Right. It's a very broad term. I'm sure we could all, if you have enough symptoms, you fit into this box. Diagnosed or not, brain training is, for everybody.
So brain training, that is a great word. So I would assume that's probably most of your business is brain training. Training your brain to get better, sharper, do things that it wasn't doing before.
Yeah.
Is that kind of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So I can give you an example.
Please.
So let's think, first president of the United States.
George Washington.
Right. Spell George Washington backwards.
Oh boy, can't do that.
And it's okay. I don't even.
Well, I can, but it may take an hour.
Right. But what I want you to do is just feel what that feels like. So you're using all of those essential cognitive skills, the 7 that we were talking about before, which is, let's just say, your long-term memory. Gives you the ability to remember right? That is stored in your knowledge bank. You know that is the president of the United States. You don't have, that's just there. That's your long-term memory. You probably pictured in your head a vision like backwards, like maybe N, and that's your visual processing. Then your auditory processing gives you the ability to sound that out, right? Start thinking, okay, N, O. And then we go back and we look at things like our processing speed. That's how fast you're going to process everything. On a very, like our gateway skills, if you can't even attend then and engage with me, that's attention is a very, very, basic skill. Then we also look at your logic and reasoning. What is your plan? How are you going to figure out what I just asked you? And then our working memory. Working memory is more of your short-term memory, the ability to remember something. If, say, you get a code from Google and you need to, enter it in, can you remember what those numbers are in that short amount of time? So just giving you an example with that, we use that a lot, but it's just so, because you can just feel like you're like, wait, okay, because that's a new skill. So every time we're learning new skills, if certain areas aren't performing where they should, that can make learning challenging.
Right.
At any age.
Right. Yeah. I know what you mean, because like when you say to spell it backwards, it's like the brain just goes, hold on a second.
Right.
You never asked me to do that. Like,
right.
I got to figure it out.
Right.
What are some common misconceptions about the field? Like when your clients come into your office and like, what are some myths that they don't understand or what they've heard that isn't right, that sort of thing?
Right. So a couple would be, a lot of people think we're a tutoring center, which you can probably find us if you Google tutoring. And are we tutoring in a sense? Yes, we are. You're going to see improvements in reading and math, right? Which, again, varies by each case. But when you have that neuroplasticity of the brain, it does allow you to have change, right? As long as there's nothing interfering with that. So, I'm sorry, what was your question?
No, it's cool.
I forgot. I got it.
What are some misconceptions? So
Okay,
you
let's
just
start
asked
over.
one, like tutoring, that's a good point. Like it does.
Can you ask me that question again?
No, like what are some misconceptions about LearningRx?
Right.
And you mentioned one about tutoring.
Right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
tutoring, a lot of people think that we are a tutoring center, which, again, you can Google us and find us probably under tutoring, and we are helping you get gains in certain skills, but we're not teaching a skill. We're working on the underlying issues like auditory processing, your processing speed. If you don't have logic and reasoning, then you're not going to be able to figure out maybe a math word problem, right? Some kids are really great at reading, but reading comprehension, drawing a conclusion, that's a certain part of your brain, right? And so we're working on those root causes. And so the misconception typically is that, we're just going to teach a skill. But that's not it. Then they come in and they look and see what we're doing, and there's all of these games. And, it's actually really fun. Another misconception is that all brain training is the same.
Right.
You and I were talking, I think, before. You had said there was another center a while back. So what we look at is the one-on-one aspect of brain training, which we find really important because you're getting that immediate feedback. You're getting that one-on-one attention where it's very intense, right? So we want it to be targeted, automated, and intense. And so that is another,
How long typically is a session? Is it an hour block kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typical session is about an hour and a half.
Okay.
3 times a week.
Okay. So it's pretty intensive.
It
for
is
the week.
pretty intensive. Yes.
What kind of stuff do you do to what games do you play?
Yeah, sure. So what games do you play? Well, for an example, we do things like memory match or colored arrows. Colored arrows would be, your coach is sitting there. They have paper in front of you and you're looking at arrows going in different directions, different colors. This is also helping with your visual tracking, right? Our eye tracking, how our eyes are teaming up, working together is very important to have that smooth, fluid movement. But at the same time, we're challenging your brain. So if you look at an arrow, you might be, okay, left, right, up, down. You're telling the direction. Then your coach might add some distractions in on that as you engage in more levels, right? And then higher levels, we also put in a metronome. So you've heard of metronome, right?
Remind me, please.
Okay. Metronome is like a beat. When
Okay.
you're learning drums or music, sports, it's something like this.
Right.
So as
rhythm,
So what that's doing to your brain is syncing and firing neurons, basically like wake up, join the party.
Interesting.
And it's getting things to become automated.
Right.
So it's really working your brain at the same time, you know what I'm saying, as other areas. So that metronome might be added on. So now you have to do it to a certain beat. Left, right, up, down, down, down. Now, instead of directions, say the color of the arrow. You know what I'm saying? So
the beat kind of helps you,
right? And then the beat can
get the
be
rhythm,
now.
Do the exercise. Very interesting.
Yes, and then we'll do other things like we have what we call our brainy bag, and our brainy bag is a ball, and you could just do things like a catch, right? And it could start out, and it could be to the metronome beat, but you might not be able to get that beat at first, so the coach might sit there and just do hand over hand.
Is it kind of like the concept like in business meetings, like it's beneficial to stand up and clap or do something while you're learning something?
Yeah.
It just kind of creates the energy and associates it with something.
I love that you just said that, because movement is very important, right?
Right.
We're not meant to sit completely still. One of the hardest functions on our brain is to do that. So you can imagine how that is for a child in a school setting.
For sure.
When they're sitting for 5-6 hours a
Long
day.
time.
Right. We're meant to move. So a lot of times you see kids moving because they're trying to pay attention, but then they get in trouble for that and they don't know how to correct it, right?
Is the majority of your clients children?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. We see any, average age is probably about 5 to 90.
Very nice.
But yes, the majority would probably be students.
And I would imagine with like the growth in homeschool, online school, it's giving kids a lot more opportunity to use your service, kids and parents.
Yes.
It's not the traditional go to 8 hours a day. All I have time is 4 to 8 at night anymore. So we more during the day stuff too.
Right. So we do serve a lot of the homeschool community. It works great with them.
For sure.
But, it is more of an after school, so we are open later. And we do have a remote program as well. We do the live training, so you're still getting the one-on-one session through like a Zoom.
Right.
We, if you're closer to a center or the center, coming in is great. But if you can't, we've accommodated.
Very nice.
For that, yes.
So we said about 3 times a week, an hour and a half. How long would you say you would need to change an activity or improve on what you're zoning in on improving?
So I would say overall, you mean like their program? How long would their program be? Or
like I want to improve this function. I think probably is a parent brings a kid in here that they're not sitting still during class.
Right. That's a great question.
So like, okay, well, it's going to take this amount of time to kind of see some.
Right. You're looking probably at about 120 hours.
Okay.
Maybe about 6 months, 6 to 7 months.
So it's a big commitment.
Yes, it's a commitment. But overall, if you look at like the big scope of things, it's actually a short-term commitment for long-term gain, because this is a lasting change. Another misconception I'd like to add is that the lasting change piece of this.
Interesting. So it sticks.
It sticks. Okay. Yes. I could tell you, I told you my passion with my own children. My son went through brain training, and it changed his life.
Interesting.
And I just became so passionate about it.
How did it change his life, though? Tell me more.
He was just not able to focus, right? Very, just more of like the daydreamer, like over here. But it's easier. For him, it was auditory processing. And if anyone would have said that to me, it would have made so much sense. I would be like, go to your room, close the door, don't forget to close the light, grab your backpack. And sometimes you're like, wait, what? I just told you. Did you,
So
get the hearing checked? But no, it's how you're processing auditorily, how the sounds are coming in.
Okay.
Words can blend. A teacher talks too fast, giving directions. My son could, or anyone that struggles with that will miss it. So
So what did you train him to be better at?
Working on the underlying issues like the auditory processing, that was night and day. Working on his visual system, as I was saying before, how our eyes are teaming up, working together, how we're taking in everything visually, like how you pictured that backwards, right? Our visual processing is a big deal.
For sure.
So working on that too.
We'll get back to the story in just a second, but while you're listening, here's something you should know if you live in Northeast Florida. If you're self-employed and trying to buy a home, it's not as hard as you might think. We work with business owners, freelancers, and creatives every single day. People who don't fit the traditional housing mold, and we're here to let you know that we have real loan programs that make homeownership possible. We've helped tons of local business owners and creatives get approved using flexible loan options that work for them and their business. First Coast Mortgage Funding is proud to sponsor Hometown Jax right here in Jacksonville.
And then my daughter, when she was younger, she was behind in reading. I didn't see that coming for a short amount of time, but it really just fell. And it was, again, for her, it was more of her visual system. She went up about, I would like to say, 8 reading levels.
Wow.
And then, she was in second grade.
Wow.
And now she's in 9th grade. And I mean, she's been in honors, ELA.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
Yes.
Well, it's funny you say reading. So I wanted to talk about that.
Yes, let's talk about reading.
Focus on reading.
Yes.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of books of successful people. And man, one common trait is they read a lot.
Yes.
And I'm not a huge reader. I wish I was. Why is that? Why, other than just gaining the knowledge, it seems like there's something more to it, of people that have a big thirst for reading, that they really excel in life.
Right. Because reading, when you're in school, and school is foundational, but think about when you make this change, you're learning to read, and then you're reading to learn. Everything becomes reading to learn. So as you were saying, you don't love to read. Why don't you love to read?
Because it makes me go to sleep. But I'll listen to a podcast for hours. I love that.
But right there's something there. Because in your, you don't realize that. It's just not fun to read, right? But and I'm not going to try to, say what it is or isn't, but typically what we see is one of those skills, right? Your eyes are probably fatiguing, and that's why you're tired. Your eyes can go and fixate too long on one word. They can regress. Like my daughter, you might be reading right to left. You don't know any different. It's just not easy. For other people, it's so easy. And I get that because I never loved to read. I didn't like reading at all because it was so fatiguing to me. But once again, that's the beauty of the brain. It can change. And then when that opens up and it changes, learning becomes faster, easier, and independent.
That's a really good way to put it, because, reading is so important. And I just think it's a game changer for so many things.
It is,
so
right.
It's almost like you really need to figure out how to like it.
And it's also interesting because you said a lot of really, successful people, and people that love to read, a lot of times, again, that's a certain area of the brain, or they fact seekers, right? And in certain areas are performing, their logic and reasoning could be up here. And, so there's certain areas you're seeing that they're really good at. We all have the ability to reach whatever our full potential is, right? And that's really what brain training does. And it's going to target getting you to reach your full potential.
Well, here's an interesting question. Obviously with the rise of technology, AI, I want to talk about that. But
Yes.
we don't write very much anymore, if not anything.
Yes.
Do you think that is just as important as reading, and that's something we're missing the boat on?
I think that I do. Have you ever read the book Glow? Well, we're just talking about reading. You don't love reading. There's a book called Glow Kids.
Okay.
It's a great book. It talks about screen time and what it's doing to our brains. And I mean, it's like one of those things where there's so much good in it. We have so many amazing things at our fingertip, but what it's also doing is it's giving us this instant gratification. It's filling that, so you'll see kids that are so, like, their behavior becomes, it's like withdrawal when you take them off because they're swiping. And we do that, we all do it, right? We don't like something, we move on. But that's causing us to be impulsive. That's causing us to have that feeling of, right? So when you take it away, it's a withdrawal feeling. It's also not giving us the organic experience to develop. And what that would be is really through all of our senses. That's like, that's foundational too. On the very lower part of the brain, our senses are starting to give us, right? When we're young, our sense of touch, our sense of smell, all of that plays a part, in then higher areas.
Yeah.
And that's taking away that natural, like if you're outside playing, you can get the sensory input that you need, right? The dirt, the smell, the wind, you feel it. You're getting all your senses filled. But when you're on too much screen time, whether adult or child, it is hindering.
For sure. And screen time could be a whole podcast in itself. So.
Oh, right. But the AI is, yes, I do think traditional methods in person, face to face, writing, paper to pen. I do think that's important.
The good old fashioned writing.
Yes.
No cursive though, right?
I love.
Do we have to write cursive?
No, but I do like cursive.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. So I read that you have learning plans for ADHD, dyslexia, and autism, which I thought is really interesting. Talk about that a little bit. Like, so you have autistic clients, dyslexic clients. How do you help them?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Sure. So again, client comes in, diagnosed or not. We're looking at symptoms. That's usually how someone will seek us out. They're experiencing symptoms. A lot of times it can be homework time struggle, right? Instead of taking a typical 30 minutes or whatever, it's taking 4 hours.
Right.
Now it's affecting the entire family and the dynamic, right? Because it's stressful. Some parents are working, they're coming, now they got to sit home, and it's like another job to get their kid to engage, to do homework. So working on all of that with students that, again, diagnosed or not. So dyslexia, it's a diagnosis for challenges in reading. So we're working on the 7 essential core cognitive skills that you need to be a successful reader. So we're looking at doing an initial assessment and figuring out what are these areas, and then we tailor the program to that specific, student's needs.
Interesting.
So if, let's just say, and let's just go to the high achievers, because that is another thing. Your kid can be straight A Einstein and still need brain training, because it's when any area of your brain is performing really high, we're looking at a gap. What is the gap? We don't want gaps, right? We should have balance, right? We should have, again, the smooth neural pathways going back and back, or back and forth. So when we have a child that's performing like as a 16-year-old and they're 12, there's probably going to be some kind of gap, and it could just be one area. So our high achievers, we see a lot of kids that are they have very high IQs as well.
Well, that kind of just dispels the myth. Another myth, I would say, that, you're bringing your kid in that just has the problems, whether it be in school or whatever. Like, no, there's another bucket of kids that are doing really good and want to do even better or fill the gap, like you said.
Yes, and usually those kids struggle with things like anxiety, right? Because they put a lot of pressure on themselves to be perfect. And a lot of times those specific students You can play a board game with them. They have to win all the time. And if not, they'll have a meltdown. So, there's just certain, it's just amazing. So diagnosed or not, like ADHD, we're working on why. Why is a child not able to pay attention? Like I was telling you with my son, auditory processing was his big why. There was other areas as well, but working on all of those things is going to create a brain that has that ability to engage more.
And on the autistic side,
Yes.
There's some incredible things that they can do. Like when it comes to brain and functionality and memory and things that people that aren't autistic can't do. It's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. And that is something too, we're talking about myths and everything, is not understanding, or thinking because a child presents, they could be, presenting in certain areas that they are developmentally delayed, emotionally, whatever that looks like, but other areas of their brain are performing so high, so again, you have that gap, right? And looking at a child with autism, it's just such a broad spectrum, as everyone knows, but that label doesn't define anything. I have seen children that have made tremendous gains with autism.
That's great.
And working with the neuroplasticity.
Well, it's funny, I go back to reading when I see a lot of biographies of people successful. Another characteristic is that they're on the spectrum.
Right.
Very successful people, whatever, that achieve amazing things have some level of being on the spectrum.
Right.
Which is really interesting.
Isn't it? Because again, think about the gap piece of that, right? Where certain areas are just over, like it's typically the fact-seeking, logical side of the brain that doesn't always get maybe when you're being sarcastic or jokes, right? So, sometimes you'll see people that have a very high IQ, but maybe their EQ is not as high. So it's just about finding what that is, what area are they struggling in, and working on that and just exercising it.
Yeah.
The brain's a muscle.
That's awesome.
You work it out,
awesome.
and that's what it's a workout for the brain.
That's awesome. I know we talked a little bit offline about your founder, Dr. Gibson, started this in 2002. So LearningRx has been around since 2002. The principles and the techniques.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. That's a long running business.
Yes. One of the reasons that I really loved, becoming a franchisee with LearningRx, one, we're in 48 countries.
Wow.
Yep, we're called BrainRx.
So are they the same principles really since the beginning?
Protocol, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's interesting.
And the other is the research. And then I brought you.
I saw that on your website.
I do love this book. Like, it is just, for me, as someone that, has worked in this industry, when I was looking at this, there's, a lot of places claim, research and study. And to me, it's impressive to look at peer-reviewed, and then we're looking at controlled, not controlled, randomized, like all different studies. And then there's studies on pretty much everything. There's studies on our assessment process. There's studies on our programs. Like if you look at our ReadRx program, you can see the gains, right, of children. There's an average gain of, about 4 years.
Wow.
You look at our program MathRx, ThinkRx. All of these programs are in there. Then you can also look at by age. You can look at by diagnosis. You can look at ADHD and see the gains. So there's so many wonderful studies in there that, again, and then for adults, for seniors, traumatic brain injury. We didn't even talk about, we do take a lot of veterans.
Wow.
And you can see the brain imaging in the study. They do the MRI.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Imaging, yeah.
No, I spent some time on your website, and there's lots of articles backing up all the stuff you're talking about. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah.
Flipping it, I saw an interesting quote on your website, kind of going back to school versus this program, and it's kind of interesting. It said, "It's not the school's job to make sure your child has the skills to learn. And honestly, they're not equipped if your child does have cognitive weakness. The school's role is to impart knowledge, just like they wouldn't expect you to provide glasses if your child had a vision issue. Schools are not set up to address cognitive defects in a targeted way, which I think is absolutely right on. Like, you can't look to the school to solve all of the problems. It's more of, just like you said, a place to learn. So if you have problems, you need to get more help.
Yep. An IEP is, individual education plan or 504. They're going to give you accommodations. That's what you get with school. You get accommodations, right? And that's the best as a former educator that they can do.
Correct. There's nothing negative because they can't accommodate everything.
Right.
I mean,
it's not their
too
wheelhouse.
many people.
Right. And so that is, something that is not known a lot of time. And what else is not known? The teachers don't know. So we do go to schools. We partner with a lot of schools. We do presentations. We do teacher workshops on how to, so the teachers can understand. Because when I understood this, it's almost like all of a sudden this light goes off in your brain, and you're like, oh my goodness, like I had this whole behavior system set up, and this kid, his certain sensory system was very low. Kid needed to move, and I'm taking points off, taking away recess, and this kid, that's actually doing this kid more harm than good.
It's not helping.
So we do workshops. We try to educate the educators because, again, it's just not, you don't learn about neurology
for sure
and the neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
So, giving them tools and just making them more aware.
Right.
It's a nice partnership.
It's a great point. Absolutely.
Yes. Because
what do you, kind of changing gears a little bit more again, what do you feel about like the brain training apps and the things that you're on the phone? Are they gimmicks for the most part, or do they actually? I mean, my wife does one every night. Like, she does some sort of brain training. She swears by it.
Yeah. I don't think they're gimmicks. I don't know, to speak to a specific one. If it's a video game and it's claiming something, again, there's aspects of that probably aren't amazing. As long as, you're not tied to a screen, I think that in person is great because you're getting, again, that real organic effect. But yeah, the apps that they come out with, I think that, they're fun and they can be helpful.
Engaging.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned older clients too that come in.
Memory loss.
Right, which is really cool that you're thinking about that. Like, you that's not it. Like, you can work to try to help that. The brain's an amazing place.
Absolutely. And even better, you can prevent that. Not, to some degree. Genetics always play a role in everything, but we get a lot of parents of students, younger students, who their parents are in for dementia or Alzheimer's. So they're like, what can I do? Like, I want to prevent that. That's in my genes. I want to prevent that from happening.
Or maybe they feel themselves slipping a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Man, that is really a cool thing to be able to address that, because, man, how many times do you think that you don't have anything to do? Well,
right.
You're telling me you can do something about it.
You can, yes. Just look into neuroplasticity. It's fascinating.
That's
how the brain
interesting.
can change.
That's interesting. So I'm a kid that is graduating college, and I'm really interested in what you're talking about. What would you recommend? Where do I go? What do I do? Do I do advanced studies? Do I get into something like you're doing? Do I go be a teacher? What do I do?
Oh, you mean to become
I'm really
in this
interested
field.
in the brain. I'm interested in this field, the cognitive brain function.
Yeah, that's a
great
question.
Should I go?
So you've already gone to college?
Well,
what's your degree?
I'm out of high school. I'm
out of high
I'm
school.
one of your really smart kids, and I really know that I want to learn about the brain.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a bunch of stuff. I mean, we get a lot of brain trainers that are psychologists. That's what the field they chose, or exercise science. The chiropractic field is a good one as well, like alternate
Interesting.
medicine.
Tie that together to me.
Yes.
Like, how is chiropractic
Because
tied to this?
Because so certain chiropractic practices, right? And they vary. You know, it's not just about cracking
Right.
the back and all of that. Think about like vertigo. There's certain, like in your inner ear, right? There's a maneuver that you could do, which typically doesn't require any cracking. But you can move the way that they show you to do. I can't think of the name of the procedure. And they can manipulate it so that the little crystal, like in your ear canal and all that I've had that done to me, and it's amazing.
Wow.
So certain chiropractors are like functional neurologists, as I was speaking to before. They're looking at the brain and alternate ways to work on that, right? So it's typically a non-medical approach, but working on, and everyone's practice can be different, but chiropractors typically, you know, are looking at other alternate ways. And that's what this whole field of brain training is. It's an alternate to things like medication.
Right. Well,
you
so
know.
if you went to school to be a chiropractor,
Yes.
this would kind of be an offshoot of that, maybe, or
That's where it's kind of, I don't know that a doctor of chiropractics, I shouldn't say that, because yes, in a sense, yes, to own a brain training center. Not, you know, you wouldn't go to school to be a doctor of chiropractic, to be a brain trainer per se, but you can do that in your practice. So if you want to get into this field, you know, just neuroscience.
Neuroscience, that's the key word.
Neurology.
Okay. And is that lead up to like brain surgeon kind of thing too, or?
Yes. I mean, if you want to, yes, that's a whole other, yes.
Yes.
But completely different, because one is medical and one is non-medical.
Right.
So I think exercise, I want to say exercise science is probably a field, you know, that we get a lot of brain trainers from.
Well,
but you
it's
can
like,
you can go to school, you know, for business and decide your trajectory to be completely different. And
That's a
then you
good
can
point.
always just, you know, get into this. We provide very complex training for our coaches, because you can't really go to school to be a brain trainer.
Right.
Hey, I want to be, yeah, you can take this path or this path, but a lot of times, you know, you just kind of run into it. So, and then the protocol is so specific that there's, you know, online classes and modules that everyone has to take.
Well, what are you looking for when you want to hire a brain trainer? Like a prior educator?
Yeah,
kind of?
Prior educators we love. We love, you know, a lot of OTs, or, you know, someone who went to school thinking they might want to be an OT, and then
Occupational?
therapists.
Okay.
We've had PTs, physical therapists, speech therapists, psychologists, anyone who's a doctor. I don't think is gonna, but I mean, doctor of education.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and you know, we always I say that, and then I have to stop and think. I've had people in the past who, you know, they've retired and they're still passionate, and that is something right there. That word passionate, that is what I look for in a brain trainer.
For sure.
You are passionate about something and you get it. If you get this, like we have parents that just get it. They get it, and they're going to do everything that they can because they believe in what we're doing and they understand it. So we try to help the parents to understand this, because their home environment matters as well.
Sure.
We want to give them, you know, as much as we can to help them foster future development of the brain.
Well, I mean, it's a great point you made up, you know, in the beginning. Like, we're probably just in the beginning of really learning about the brain.
We are.
Even though your company's been around for a long time, I mean, it seems like we're just now, I don't know what the word is, maybe
Scratching the
society's
surface.
getting interested in it more, and they're like, oh, wow, like the brain can really do a lot more.
Right.
Because we've had this surgence of physical health, eating, things like that.
Yes, yes.
Let's work our way up to the brain, you know?
Yes.
Probably the most important place.
Yes, because the more testimonials you get and the more awareness, and that's really what, you know, what I want to do is spread awareness about that, because I didn't know that as a parent. I didn't know that as an educator. So helping teachers, if I can help a kid that's in a classroom and sitting there, like, to me, there's nothing better than giving a parent hope, because hope that's also backed up with results. Because, you know, a lot of times you don't know what you don't know, and you think that that's all that there is. And there is a way. It's like holding this cup. You know, I like this cup. Very cool. This being our brain, right? Analogy. Filling this with water. If there's a little hole, it could be the tiniest hole in this cup, and I'm pouring more information into the brain, pouring water into this cup, right? So instead of keep doing like top-down things, teaching the skill, let's try to do this, make things, I'm going to actually go down to the root cause of this and improve that.
Awesome.
So that's how then you can, as you were saying before, go get a tutor. You know, then we can work on the skill. But we do also work on the skill. Like I was saying, we have certain programs that will work on the skill at the same time we're working on the underlying issue.
Yeah. Well, Deana, this was an amazing conversation. Thank you. LearningRx in Jacksonville Beach.
Yeah.
Serving everyone from our kids to our elderly, or someone that just really wants to improve their brain function. And man, there's a lot of science behind this. And
there is.
You could make the debate. It's probably the most important thing you could do. So
yes, our brain health, you could just tie it to everything going on that needs to be improved. Our mental health, there's just
so going in to solve the problem, this not necessarily the issue,
the symptom,
more, right? The symptom, exactly. That's the right word.
Instead of putting a Band-Aid over the symptom, we can actually improve it organically, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this was amazing. Thank you. I learned something new every day. This is amazing.
Yes.
And who knows? Maybe I need some brain training. I mean,
I would love for you to come in for an assessment. I'm not even kidding.
But it was great to have you here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
The Hometown Jax podcast is recorded and produced by First Coast Mortgage Funding, located in the heart of Jacksonville. Do you want to be our next guest? Visit our website at hometownjaxpodcast.com. We can't wait to hear your story.